Hello and smart move for clicking play on my video. My name is Evan Bishop, registered migration agent MARN 1679414, and I run a business called Worldly Migration. We specialise in training visas, and there was a major change which happened in the 11th of March 2026. So what I'm going to talk about in this video is we're going to talk about what that change was, the implications that happens, the practicalities, and what I want you to do with your pending applications to strengthen the chance of success. So it's really looking at not just new training visas that are lodged, but also how to salvage those existing applications. So let's rip in. What happened on the 10th of March announced for the following day. So as of tomorrow, on the 11th of March 2026, there will be a validity change to the training visa. No longer, unless it's a Commonwealth government agency, no longer can you lodge for a temporary activity sponsorship and then a nomination and then the training visa at the same time. You must only to lodge a valid application for a training visa, again, unless it's a Commonwealth government agency, you must lodge first and get approved. It's temporary activity sponsorship and then the 407 nomination itself. So the temporary activity sponsorship, arguing about the financial viability of the business, arguing the genuine nature of the business is lawfully operating, all that side of things, which we'll talk about in a moment, and then the actual argument for the training itself in the nomination stage. Both must be approved before you can lodge for your visa application. Now, this obviously had huge implications for people where their training visa was soon to expire and they're therefore going to run out of time. So I did think that I saw the writing on the wall for years. Like I said, I specialise this. I'm registered with OMARA to teach this to other practitioners as a subject matter expert. I do CPDs on this topic. And what I did think was probably going to happen was first and foremost to change the scrutiny in the training visa, or more so people leveraging it when they maybe shouldn't, would be to maybe change the occupations list. The occupations list for the training visa, legislative instrument 19050, so it's from the first half of calendar year 2019. That would have been, I thought, maybe the first thing to do. Change the occupations list, cut it down from hundreds to maybe 40 or 60, something like that. Next, I thought maybe they could just close the door altogether for enhancing skills, which is nomination type 2. So I do think it was a bit brutal that they just made a swift validity change, because that does affect all of the genuine applications which are in nomination type 1 and nomination type 3. Thankfully, within a few days of this legislative change, there was a fact sheet straight from the Department of Home Affairs that spoke about different industries and different sectors, I should say. I've got them written on my whiteboard. Off the top of my head, they are the healthcare sector and social services, engineering, training and education, aviation, and scientific and technical, and then another one which was etc. So I'd love to know what's on that magic etc. list, but I guess we'll soon find out. So they are streamlined sectors. So those applications for a nomination, and the temporary activity sponsorship hasn't been approved, that will then link to that as well, will be able to come more streamlined, more somewhat to the front of the queue itself, which is fantastic. And that's what I'm seeing with a lot of applications anyway. I was seeing that for veterinary nurses, early childhood educators, secondary teachers, registered nurses, enrolled nurses. You can see the common thread there. So those are the healthcare sector, the education sector. I'm still seeing and was seeing those applications come from the queue. For everyone else, yes, it is go to the back of the queue itself. So yeah, this big validity change, it is quite impractical. So it's more so aiming at people with applications they're looking to lodge. So really thinking about, when does my visa expire, and getting some really tailored legal advice on this. And we're happy to do that through free consultation for you. When is your visa expiring, and therefore working back, when do you need to get the nomination lodged? And I dare say, if you're not in any of those sectors I just listed, you need to get it lodged. You need to get your nomination in as soon as possible, and therefore the temporary activity sponsorship as well, and get those both approved before you're able to lodge for your visa. Now, since this is now to talk about the what you can do for your pending applications. Since about September, October 2023, I've seen a lot more scrutiny and I guess smarter decisions, fairer decisions and smarter decisions on the pending training visa applications. If processing times are say 12 months, Don't just simply lodge the nomination application and say, this is the training which is going to occur, and then not touch the thing for months and months. Case officer gets to assign to it, sort of 12 months later, and they reach out, if you're lucky, with a request for information saying, hey, dear applicants, just wanting to check, do you still want to sponsor this person? You said you were going to train them for 12 months, but it's taken 12 months processing. You need to keep your applications decision ready. Now, I'm using a lot of terms which are more aimed at registered migration agents and immigration lawyers, but in layman's terms, decision ready application means when the case officer picks it up, they have all information they could possibly want there. If you lodge an application today and then 12 months passes, even 3 months passes before it gets allocated to a case officer, they're going to reach out, and if you're lucky and not just refuse it straight up, they'll reach out and say, hey, we want to check, are you still financially viable as a business? Can we see the most recent BAS? Can we see your interim P&L? Has this org chart changed at all? Do you still want to, so that's more aiming at the sponsorship stage. For the nomination, do you still want to train this person? In the 3 months which have passed, and if the person is an existing employee, they absolutely should commence the training when the process is lodged. So, okay, what training has happened? So what we do with our clients, we reach out every couple months and say, hey, updated financial viability, so BAS, interim P&L, the org chart updated, a confirmation letter that the business still wants to proceed, but also asking the employer, here's the most recent version of the training plan. Is there anything within this, or what you should do, can you please tick off what has actually happened? And this is where they go through and they say, well, look, the nominee, let's say their name's Evan. In month 1, they did everything as planned, so that. Month 2, we said that Evan was going to do this and that. We had something change in the business, so now we've moved that to month 3. What we did in month 3, we moved that to month 2. Evan fell sick for a fortnight with cold or flu, something like that, so he wasn't able to do this as scheduled. So we've moved it to here. Evan started doing this module. He went through so much quicker than we thought, so now we've lessened that duration. So dear case officer, here is the updated training plan to show what has naturally transpired since we lodged the application itself. That is a strong decision-ready application. But I'm telling you now, if you just put your application in and say, oh yeah, lodge your application, move on to the next thing, don't worry about it, and don't maintain it as decision-ready, well then, yes, at best, you can expect a request for information, but the case officer, they must consider all information provided to them, but they do not need to do you a courtesy of a request for information. I can't tell you the amount of practitioners which have come to me and said, Evan, what a load of crap, the lease agreement expired, so the Department of Home Affairs just refused it on the basis of not being lawfully operating. And I have to very politely educate them on this stuff and say, yeah, it's your role to project manage this case, to make sure everything is maintained as decision ready. So I guess what I'm aiming to get this advice out, those with pending applications, please tidy them up, make sure everything is decision ready. If you, self-lodged your application, hopefully you got a good tip or two out of this video. If you didn't self-lodge your application, provide this information to the person who lodged and say, hey, what's being done to maintain this as decision ready? I can't stress enough, guys, that you can't just lodge an application and then forget about it. Yes, this is quite administrative, but please, you need to make sure they maintain as decision ready. I'm just going through now. I've got a blog about this stuff. I'll make sure we leave it in the chat. I'm making sure I've ticked off all these things. Yeah, and look, that's the main thing. And look, what I should say, I'm now looking at the refusal rates. The scrutiny on the training visa is because of the huge increase in applications. If you're a case officer, and then we're talking sort of, it was either about March, April, May 2025, Home Affairs came out with some numbers. There's something like 360% increase in applications. If you're the case officer, you're already looking at all applications on the back foot. You're looking to refuse because of the amount of, abuse that people have done with this visa. They were just using this visa as a way to gain time towards the next thing. I'm not for 1 second saying that all applications are like that. I'm not saying for 1 second all applications get refused. I've always done great applications in my 10 years of doing the training visa, and I've never had a refusal. But what I am stressing is that there was factually a huge increase of applications. So therefore, and a huge increase of poor applications, I don't want yours to fall into that category. You could be very genuine and you've done everything properly, but you just lodged it and left it. So please take a tip or two from this visa. We'll make sure we from this video. We'll put a summary in the bottom for you, we'll put a link to the blog as well, and heck, we'll put a link to give you a free initial consultation with us as well. So that one-on-one, please get that legal advice, get it tailored for you. Thank you again for watching. My name is Evan Bishop, MARN 1679414 of Worthy Migration. Your safe place for training visas, and like I said, if it's already been lodged, hopefully a good tip or two in this video for you to be able to maintain it as decision ready. Thank you again for watching.